About 5 years ago now, Jim Kreutzer called me, and I was ironically sitting in my cottage in Scotland, which is about 2.5 hours away from St Andrews, which is where the film is set. And he said, I have a book called Tommy's Honor I'd love you to read. We'd like to develop it into a film, and we'd love, if you're interested, for you to have a look at directing it. And I sat and read the book, and I read it in one sitting. It was a beautifully written piece, which actually, if anyone has the opportunity, they should certainly have a look at the book. Hopefully the film as well. Kevin Cook is the writer, and he and his wife, with myself, wrote the script. The lovely thing about writing the script was the fact that Pamela Marin, who is Kevin's wife, is not a golfer and is very involved in the whole dramatic elements of the film. And what became very apparent was the film was certainly the backdrop is golf, and these men, Tom Morris and Tommy Morris, had a real passion for the game, of course. It's set in 1866, and it's really the beginning of the modern era of the golf game. As Tom says at the beginning of the film, there are 13 rules of golf, and I'm not sure how many rules of golf there are now, but I know that the book is quite thick and extensive, certainly more than 13. And what appealed to me outside of the game, which I have indeed played for most of my life, was the story, the father and son story, the drama in their family, and also the love story, quite a tragic love story it turns out, between young Tommy and his wife Meg. So we started to write the script, and during that process I went over to Scotland, having been in Los Angeles, and we started to look at locations. And what became very apparent was, although beautiful, the golf courses are so much more manicured now, as opposed to back in the day. And it would be very difficult for us, especially in the case of St Andrews and the Old Course and the Royal and Ancient Building, to shoot there. Apart from the fact that it's very manicured, the building is much larger now with extensions, there's cars and people. And so we found a field by the sea, which was meant to be developed, had been earmarked to be developed as a links golf course, but actually it never happened. But it was one of the three with Turnberry and Glen Eagles, and it was called Balcarras Estate, and it was a field with lots of cows in it. So we moved the cows, we moved some earth, and we built half the RNA as it was in 1866. I think it was completed in 1865, so it was a very new building, very different shape from the building now. And we built half of it in real size, and then we digitally made the other half, and we digitally made Links Road, which runs along the side. We built the 18th green, the tee-off area, the first fairway down to Swilcan Burn, which is a very famous burn for golfers out there, and Swilcan Bridge. And we were able to use that as St Andrews, and we had various other courses where I would use the rough as the fairway and the fairway as the green. And people very kindly at the golf courses didn't mow their courses for 2 or 3 weeks so that it would look a little less manicured. It is a beautiful and, as I say, tragic story. And Peter Mullin was my first choice to play Old Tom. For me, he is a perfect casting. He's Scottish, of course, but also he has the gravitas and he has the weight of character of Old Tom. And I called him because I know him, had worked with him before as an actor. And he immediately said that if I wanted him, he was in, which was a wonderful place to start. And it's quite difficult, I find, raising the finance for a film about, well, ostensibly with golf in it, as it becomes a golf film. And historically, some golf films have done very well, and some others have done not so well. And so people were quite skeptical until often they read the script and heard the story. from that place on, we were able to raise the money to make the film. It was helpful to have Peter Mullen on board so early as well. Jack Lowden, who plays young Tommy, is a wonderful, wonderful actor. Very different from Peter in the sense that he has a wonderful dynamic energy which is sort of bristling from every pore, and very contrasting to Peter, and I think they set each other off perfectly and work so wonderfully as father and son. It's a complicated relationship. They're both very successful at what they do. Young Tommy was a prodigy in a way, and won the British Open at the age of 17, still the youngest to ever win, 3 times in a row, 4 times in total. Tom won the British Open 4 times, and in fact is the oldest person to ever win the British Open to this day. So quite a family heritage there. And the tragedy of the story, which I won't unveil since hopefully people will see the film, is one which is beautiful in its own way, but as I say, I can't say what it is, but I feel that the themes in the film are universal, and I worked quite diligently at hopefully making the story accessible and the environment accessible too, so that people hopefully watching don't feel as though they're watching an era that they can't associate with. I did feel with some period films that one was standing outside looking in, and I worked hard at bringing people hopefully into the world that they inhabited. Wonderful to shoot in the real places very often. There is a very famous fight that happened in Musselburgh, in the golf course there, which is a famous golf course. There was Willie Park and Mungo Park were the Musselburgh boys, and Tom and Tommy Morris were the St Andrews boys. There was thousands of people came to watch the game, and there was a huge fight in a bunker. It was very different from today, where you had the crowds very much right next to the players, and they had there was gambling and drinking and smoking and shouting, and a fight broke out, and Tom and Tommy walked into Mrs. Foreman's pub, which is right next to the golf course, and when we shot the film, they indeed fought in the exact bunker that the fight happened in. Unfortunately, the pub, which is still there, has all been modernized. There is, in fact, a plaque on the wall saying that this is the pub that they walked into. We recreated the pub because we couldn't use the pub with the modern elements in it. But wonderful to be shooting in the real place. And all of those things with the local communities being so on side, and everyone has an old Tom or a Morris family story, and the extras all threw themselves into the film, and we're out there every day in all the elements, excited to start the day. So we really came away from the shooting process, which was 33 days. We had 50 locations, 39 trucks, and I did spend quite a long time on various days running after beards, because it was quite windy on the golf courses near the sea, and the beards would blow off. But we had a wonderful time, and here we are 5 years later from the day that I received that call, and the film is opening in the next week, so very excited
what will you play for now, Tommy?
to have taken this journey.
Glory, love.
I'm 28 years old. Best find yourself a schoolgirl.
You're a hero to this town, but a gentleman you'll never be.
You'll not see that woman again.
The game is catching on in England. You will be a wealthy man. Your place is here.
I don't want to spend my days teeing up gentlemen who think they're better than me. Can you not see that?
What do you think you'll be doing?
Making my own way!
You prosper thanks to men like me.
It's time for a new arrangement, sir.
Match is suspended until conditions improve.
You're in my way. You've no business keeping it from me.
Your Tommy came looking for me.
Young men look for things.
I'm not a thing!
But I'm very, very proud to say that the ultimate winner is my very own son, Thomas Morris Jr.